Good deed gone wrong. When the grandson brought lawyers, Maya wiped down the last table at the café, her shoulders aching from the long shift. It was 8 p.m. on a Thursday, and the November rain hammered against the windows of Rosie's Corner Cafe in downtown Portland. She was exhausted, but something caught her eye as she prepared to lock up. An elderly man sat hunched on the bench outside, rain soaking through his thin jacket. He looked disoriented, confused even. Maya's heart clenched. She couldn't just leave him there. "Sir, are you okay?" she asked, stepping outside with an umbrella. The old man looked up, his watery blue eyes struggling to focus. I can't remember where I parked my car," he said softly, his voice trembling. "Or did I walk here? I can't remember." Maya knelt beside him. "Let's get you out of this rain first. Come inside, please." She guided him into the warm cafe, sat him down and made him hot tea. His hands shook as he wrapped them around the mug. His name was Henry Whitmore, he told her. He was 82 years old. He lived alone since his wife passed 3 years ago, and lately his memory had been playing tricks on him. After some gentle questioning, Maya found an emergency contact card in his wallet. She called the number, but it went straight to voicemail. She left a message explaining the situation. "Mr. Whitmore, do you know your address?" she asked gently. He recited it slowly, and Maya recognized the street. It was only about 10 blocks away. She couldn't put him in a cab alone in his confused state, so she made a decision. She would walk him home. The rain had softened to a drizzle as they walked slowly through the lamp-lit streets. Henry talked about his late wife, Eleanor, about the garden they'd kept together, about the house they'd built with their own hands 50 years ago. When they reached his house, a charming craftsman with a sagging porch, Maya helped him find his keys and made sure he got inside safely. The house was clean but sparse, with photos covering every surface. Young Henry and Eleanor, children, grandchildren. "Thank you, dear," Henry said, his eyes clearer now that he was home. "You're very kind. It's no problem at all. Mr. Whitmore, please take care of yourself." Maya thought that would be the end of it. But the next day, as Maya opened the cafe at 6 a.m., she saw Henry shuffling down the sidewalk, looking lost again. This time he was in his slippers, no jacket despite the cold morning air. "Mr. Whitmore." She rushed out to him. He looked at her blankly for a moment, then recognition dawned. "Oh, you're the kind girl from yesterday." This became a pattern. Henry would wander to the cafe almost daily, sometimes remembering why, sometimes not. Maya learned he had early-stage dementia. His daughter had died years ago, and his grandson lived across the country, barely keeping in touch. Maya couldn't bear to see him struggle alone, so she started checking on him. She'd stop by his house after her shifts, bring him groceries, make sure he'd eaten. She'd sit with him and listen to his stories. The same stories often repeated, but she never minded. She helped him set up a pill organizer for his medications. She programmed her number into his phone under WAR-END. She even helped him tend to Eleanor's rose garden, which had grown wild and overgrown. "You remind me of my Eleanor," Henry told her one afternoon as they worked in the garden together. "She had your kindness, your gentle spirit." Maya smiled, wiping dirt from her hands. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, Mr. Whitmore." Weeks turned into months. Maya's friends thought she was crazy, spending all her free time with an old man she barely knew. But they didn't understand. After her own grandmother had died alone in a nursing home while Maya was away at college, something she'd never forgiven herself for. She'd promised herself she'd never let another elderly person suffer loneliness if she could help it. Henry became like family to her. She was there when he forgot how to work his coffee maker. She was there during his doctor's appointments when he couldn't remember the questions he wanted to ask. She was there on the bad days when he forgot who she was entirely and called her Eleanor. She never asked for anything in return. It never even crossed her mind. It was a cold January morning when everything changed. Maya had just arrived at Henry's house with fresh bread from the cafe when she noticed an expensive black Mercedes parked in the driveway. Her stomach tightened with an inexplicable sense of dread. She knocked on the door as usual. Heavy footsteps approached, and the door swung open. But it wasn't Henry. A tall man in his late 30s stood there, dressed in an expensive suit, his dark hair slicked back. His eyes were cold as they assessed her. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I'm Maya. I'm here to see Mr. Who are you?" "I'm Derek Whitmore, Henry's grandson." His tone was sharp, accusatory. "And I'm wondering the same thing. Who exactly are you? And what are you doing at my grandfather's house?" Maya's heart sank. This was Henry's grandson, the one who called maybe once every few months, who couldn't be bothered to visit. "I'm his friend," Maya said carefully. "I help him out sometimes." "He didn't tell you." Derek's jaw clenched. "My grandfather has dementia. He can't tell me much of anything anymore. And I find it very suspicious that some random woman has inserted herself into his life without contacting his family. I tried calling the emergency contact number months ago," Maya said, her voice rising defensively. "No one answered. No one called back." "Is that so?" Derek pulled out his phone, checked something, then looked back at her with undisguised suspicion. "And in all these months, it never occurred to you to try again? To wonder if maybe you shouldn't be spending so much time with a vulnerable elderly man?" "Vulnerable? I've been helping him. Where were you when he was wandering the streets confused? Where were you when he couldn't remember to eat?" "Maya," Henry's voice called from inside. "Is that you, dear?" Maya tried to step inside, but Derek blocked her path. "I think you should leave," he said coldly. "But I need to," I said. "Leave. My grandfather doesn't need your help anymore. I'm here now." The door slammed in her face. Maya stood there, stunned. Her hands were shaking. Through the window she could see Derek talking to Henry, his gestures animated. Henry looked confused, upset. She wanted to fight, to push past Derek and check on Henry herself, but she forced herself to walk away. Maybe Derek was right. Maybe now that family was here, Henry would be better off. But something in her gut told her this wasn't over. 3 days later, Maya received a certified letter at the café. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The letterhead read, "Mitchell and Associates, Attorneys at Law. Dear Ms. Maya Patel, we represent Mr. Derek Whitmore regarding his grandfather, Mr. Henry Whitmore. It has come to our client's attention that you have been engaging in a pattern of behavior that constitutes elder exploitation and undue influence." The words blurred as Maya's eyes filled with tears. The letter accused her of manipulating Henry for financial gain. It demanded she cease all contact immediately and threatened legal action if she'd received any money, gifts, or been named in Henry's will. Maya felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Elder exploitation, undue influence. She'd never taken a penny from Henry. She'd spent her own money buying him groceries. For God's sake! Her hands shook with rage and hurt as she kept reading. The letter demanded she provide a full accounting of all interactions with Henry, all money exchanged and all time spent at his residence. The cafe owner, Rosie, found her sitting in the back room, the letter crumpled in her fist, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, honey, what happened?" Rosie asked, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Maya couldn't even speak. She just handed over the letter. Rosie's face darkened as she read, "This is ridiculous. You've done nothing but help that sweet old man. Everyone knows that. But what if—" Maya's voice broke. "What if people believe this? What if I lose my job? My reputation? What if Derek actually sues me? Then we fight." Rosie said firmly, "You haven't done anything wrong, Maya. We'll prove it." But proving innocence was harder than Maya expected. Derek had hired not just lawyers, but a private investigator. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya discovered the depth of Derek's suspicions. The investigator interviewed her neighbors, her coworkers, even showed up at the cafe asking questions. How often did Ms. Patel visit Mr. Whitmore? Did she ever mention his money or assets? Did you ever see Mr. Whitmore give her gifts or cash? Questions were designed to make her look guilty. Maya felt her life being torn apart, examined under a microscope, twisted into something ugly. She learned through a mutual acquaintance that Derek had moved into Henry's house, temporarily, and was pursuing full guardianship of his grandfather. He'd told people that Maya was a con artist who'd been isolating Henry from his family. The cruelest part, Maya had no way to know how Henry was doing. She'd driven by his house several times but never saw him outside. The rose garden she'd helped restore was already looking neglected. She wanted to call him to check on him, but the lawyer's letter had been clear: no contact. Maya barely slept. She'd lost 10 pounds from stress. Her friends rallied around her, but she could see the questions in some of their eyes. Why had she spent so much time with Henry? It did look suspicious when laid out in the investigator's reports. Then came the second letter. Derek was formally pursuing guardianship, and there would be a hearing. Maya was listed as someone who had potentially exploited Henry during his cognitive decline. If Derek succeeded, he could potentially sue her for damages. "I need a lawyer," Maya told Rosie, her voice hollow. "Do you have money for one?" Maya laughed bitterly. "I have about $800 in savings. That won't even cover a consultation." But Rosie had connections. She reached out to a former customer, a semi-retired lawyer named Patricia Chen who sometimes did pro bono work. Patricia met with Maya at the cafe, listened to her story and looked over Derek's legal filings. "This is a mess," Patricia said bluntly. "But it's also bullshit. Derek's fishing. He has no actual evidence of exploitation because none exists. But he's hoping you'll be too scared or too broke to fight back. So what do? We go to the hearing. We tell the truth, and we hope the judge sees through this." As the court date approached, something unexpected happened. People started speaking up. First, it was Rosie, who wrote a detailed affidavit about Maya's character, about how she'd witnessed Maya's kindness toward Henry, how Maya had never mentioned money or inheritance, only worried about Henry's well-being. Then Dr. Sarah Klein, Henry's physician, reached out. She'd been contacted by Derek's lawyers and was furious. "That grandson hasn't shown his face in 3 years," Dr. Klein told Patricia. "But Maya, she brought Henry to appointments. She made sure he took his medications. She's the reason his condition didn't deteriorate faster." Klein provided medical records showing Maya listed as Henry's emergency contact, with notes documenting her consistent care. Maya's neighbors came forward too. Mrs. Chen from next door to Henry wrote a statement. "I saw that young woman helping Mr. Henry with his garden every week. She never took anything from that house, only brought things to it. Groceries, flowers for his wife's grave, books. The grandson didn't visit once in all the time I've been watching." Even the postman submitted a statement, noting how he'd often seen Maya checking Henry's mail for him, helping him sort bills, making sure nothing important was missed. By the time the hearing date arrived, Patricia had assembled a thick folder of evidence supporting Maya's character and documenting her genuine care for Henry. But will it be enough? Maya asked the night before the hearing. "I don't know," Patricia admitted, "but we're going to fight like hell." The courthouse was cold and intimidating. Maya sat next to Patricia at a long table, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Across the aisle, Derek sat with 2 expensive lawyers in tailored suits, looking confident. The judge, an older woman named Judge Morrison, reviewed the files before her. "This is a guardianship hearing for Mr. Henry Whitmore," she began. "Mr. Derek Whitmore is petitioning for full guardianship due to his grandfather's dementia. However, there are allegations regarding a Ms. Maya Patel that this court needs to address. Mr. Whitmore, you've accused Ms. Patel of elder exploitation. Please present your evidence." Derek's lawyer stood, smooth and polished. "Your Honor, Ms. Patel insinuated herself into Mr. Henry Whitmore's life during a period of cognitive vulnerability. She visited his home multiple times per week, isolated him from his family, and positioned herself as his primary caregiver despite having no legal or familial relationship. We believe she was attempting to manipulate Mr. Whitmore into providing financial benefits. Do you have evidence of financial transfer or manipulation?" Judge Morrison asked sharply. "Not yet, Your Honor, but—" "Not yet. So you have no evidence that Ms. Patel received money, gifts, or has been named in Mr. Whitmore's will?" The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "No direct evidence at this time, but the pattern of behavior. Is the pattern of someone helping a neighbor." Patricia interrupted, standing. "Your Honor, may I present our evidence?" For the next hour, Patricia methodically dismantled Derek's accusations. She presented affidavits from Rosie, Dr. Klein, neighbors, and community members. She showed bank records proving Maya had never received money from Henry. She presented receipts showing Maya had spent her own money on Henry's care. "Furthermore, Your Honor," Patricia said, "we have phone records showing that Ms. Patel attempted to contact Mr. Derek Whitmore 6 months ago when she first began helping his grandfather regularly. The call went to voicemail. She left a message. Mr. Whitmore never returned that call." Derek's face reddened. "Is this true, Mr. Whitmore?" Judge Morrison asked. I get a lot of calls. I might have missed a call about your grandfather's welfare." The judge's tone was ice. Then Patricia played her final card. "Your Honor, we'd like to call a witness. Henry Whitmore himself." The courtroom doors opened, and a bailiff wheeled Henry in. Maya's heart broke seeing him. He looked thinner, frailer, confused by the formal setting. But when his eyes found Maya, they lit up. "Maya," he called out, his voice cracking. "Where have you been? I've been so worried." Derek stood. "Your Honor, my grandfather is not competent to—" "Sit down, Mr. Whitmore," Judge Morrison ordered. "I'll determine competency." She approached Henry gently, asking him simple questions. He was confused about the date and location, but when asked about Maya, his answers were crystal clear. "She's my friend. Henry said firmly. She helps me remember things. She tends Eleanor's roses with me. She makes sure I eat. Where has she been, Your Honor? Derek said she didn't want to see me anymore, but I didn't believe him. Maya wiped tears from her eyes. Mr. Whitmore, the judge asked gently, did Maya ever ask you for money? Money? No, never. I tried to pay her for groceries once, and she refused. Said friends don't charge friends. Did she ever pressure you to change your will or give her gifts? Henry looked genuinely confused. Why would she do that? She's not like that. Maya has a good heart. Judge Morrison returned to her bench and fixed Derek with a stern look. Mr. Whitmore, I'm granting you temporary guardianship to help manage your grandfather's medical and financial affairs. However, I'm doing so with conditions. First, you will not prevent your grandfather from seeing Ms. Patel. She has clearly been a positive presence in his life, and isolating him from her is harmful. Second, you will attend a caregiver training program. And third, you will submit monthly reports on your grandfather's care. She turned to Derek's lawyers. As for the allegations against Ms. Patel, I find them to be completely without merit. Ms. Patel acted as a good Samaritan, nothing more. These accusations were reckless and harmful. Ms. Patel, do you wish to pursue a defamation claim? Maya looked at Derek, really looked at him. She saw past the expensive suit and the arrogance. She saw fear. Fear that he'd failed his grandfather. Fear that a stranger had done what he should have done. Fear that he was too late. No, Your Honor, Maya said quietly. I just want to make sure Henry is okay. After the hearing, Derek approached Maya in the hallway. His lawyers had left and he looked smaller, somehow defeated. He started, then stopped. I owe you an apology. Maya waited. I thought you were scamming him. Derek said, his voice rough. My grandfather is worth over $3 million. The house alone is worth nearly $1 million. I've seen it happen. Caregivers who manipulate elderly people, change their wills, take everything. My friend's grandmother lost her entire estate to someone like me, Maya said coldly. I was wrong. Derek ran a hand through his hair. I was wrong and I'm sorry. I saw the bank records during discovery. You actually spent your own money taking care of him. Nearly $2,000 over 6 months. Why? Because he needed help, Maya said simply. Because he was alone and scared and confused, and I couldn't walk away from that. Because it was the right thing to do. Derek's eyes were red-rimmed. I should have been there, I know that. After my mom died, I couldn't handle being around him. It hurt too much. Every time I saw him, I saw her, so I stayed away. I called sometimes, sent money, but I stayed away. And I told myself that was enough. It wasn't, Maya said, but her voice was gentler now. I know. And then I got a call from his neighbor saying some young woman was always at the house, and I panicked. I thought the worst. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm truly, deeply sorry for what I put you through. Maya studied him. The anger that had burned in her for weeks was still there, but underneath it was something else. Understanding maybe, or at least recognition of pain. Your grandfather needs you, she said. Really needs you. Not your money, not your lawyers. You. I know, I'm going to do better. I'm moving here, actually. I put in for a transfer at work. I'll be here to take care of him. That's good, Maya said, and meant it. The next few months were an adjustment. Derek kept his word. He moved to Portland, enrolled in caregiver support groups, and learned how to properly care for someone with dementia. Maya returned to visiting Henry, though less frequently now that Derek was there. At first, it was awkward. Derek and Maya circled each other carefully, neither quite trusting the other. But slowly, as they both focused on Henry's needs, a tentative partnership formed. Derek learned that caring for someone with dementia wasn't about the big gestures. It was about patience, routine, and small kindnesses. Things Maya had known instinctively. Maya learned that Derek's absence hadn't been callousness but grief he didn't know how to process. His mother's death had devastated him, and watching his grandfather forget her felt like losing her all over again. How do you do it? Derek asked one afternoon as they worked together in Eleanor's garden while Henry napped inside. How do you stay patient when he asks the same question 10 times? When he doesn't remember you helped him yesterday? Maya dug her trowel into the soil, considering. I don't focus on what he's lost. I focus on what he still has. He still loves his roses. He still lights up when he talks about Eleanor. He still has kindness in him. That's enough. Derek nodded slowly, absorbing this. Henry's condition gradually declined, as dementia always does. But he was never alone. He had Derek learning to be the grandson he should have been. He had Maya, still bringing light and laughter. He had a community that checked on him. On Henry's 83rd birthday, they threw him a small party in his beloved garden. He was confused about why they were celebrating, forgot it was his birthday 3 times, but he smiled throughout the afternoon. "This is nice," he said, looking around at the faces surrounding him. Eleanor would have loved this. She would have. Maya agreed, squeezing his hand. Henry looked at her, then at Derek. "You two take good care of each other, you hear me? Family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up." Henry passed away peacefully 18 months after that court hearing, with Derek holding one hand and Maya holding the other. The funeral was small but full of love. People from the cafe came, neighbors came. Dr. Klein came. They shared stories of Henry's kindness, his devotion to Eleanor, his beautiful garden. A week after the funeral, Maya received a call from Derek's lawyer. A different one this time, the estate attorney. "Ms. Petal, we need you to come to the reading of Mr. Whitmore's will." Maya's stomach dropped. "Why? I'm not family. Please, just come." Sitting in the lawyer's office, Maya learned that Henry had updated his will 6 years ago, long before she'd ever met him. The bulk of his estate went to Derek, as expected. There were donations to Alzheimer's research and to the community garden Eleanor had loved. And then, to Maya Petal, who showed me that angels walk among us, I leave the sum of 50,000 and my eternal gratitude. Use it to continue being the light you are, Maya gasped. "But he never said." "The will was written years before you met," the lawyer explained. "But 3 months before he passed, Mr. Whitmore asked to add a codicil. His doctor certified he was lucid and understood what he was doing. He specifically wanted to add this bequest to you." She looked at Derek, panic rising. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't." Derek smiled, his eyes wet. "I know. That's why he did it. Maya, you gave my grandfather something no amount of money could buy. You gave him friendship without agenda, care without obligation. You helped me find my way back to him. This is what he wanted." Maya broke down crying. Not because of the money, though it was more than she'd ever had, but because it meant Henry had known, had understood, had wanted to thank her. "There's something else," Derek said. He handed her a letter in a shaky hand. Henry's handwriting. "Dear Maya, by the time you read this, I'll be with my Eleanor again. I want to thank you for being my friend when I needed one most. You never knew this, but you reminded me that the world still has good people in it. You reminded me of Eleanor, not just her kindness, but her belief that we're meant to take care of each other. Derek is a good boy, but he forgot that for a while. Thank you for helping him remember. Thank you for tending Eleanor's roses. Thank you for treating an old, confused man with dignity. Why use this money for something good? Maybe go to college like you talked about. Maybe help other people the way you helped me. Maybe just take a vacation and rest because you deserve it. You asked me once why I married Eleanor. I told you it was because she saw me, really saw me. You did that too, Maya. You saw a person, not just an old man. That's rare. That's precious. Thank you for every cup of tea, every story you listened to, even when I told the same ones over and over, every flower you planted, and every time you called me your friend. You were mine too, with love and gratitude." Henry, 2 years later, Maya walked across the stage at Portland Community College, accepting her social work degree. In the audience, Derek cheered loudly, embarrassingly. She'd used part of Henry's gift for school and saved the rest to start a nonprofit, Eleanor's Garden, a program connecting volunteers with isolated elderly people in the community. It started small, just her and a handful of volunteers, but it was growing. Derek served on the board and was the program's largest donor. He'd also become one of Maya's closest friends. Trauma and reconciliation had forged an unlikely bond. Maya still worked part-time at Rosie's Café. She still noticed people who needed help. But now she had resources to do more than just care. She could create systems, train volunteers, and make lasting change. On the anniversary of Henry's death, Maya and Derek met at his grave. They brought roses from Eleanor's garden, which Derek now maintained. "I think he'd be proud," Derek said, placing the flowers on the grave. "Off both of us. I think Eleanor would be too," Maya said. They stood in comfortable silence, honoring the old man who had changed both their lives, one through a good deed and one through a wake-up call. "You know what's funny?" Derek said. "I thought I was protecting him from you. Turns out, he was protecting me. Protecting you. From becoming someone I'd hate. Someone who only showed up when there was something to gain. Someone who forgot what family Real family means. Derek smiled. That court hearing was the worst day of my life. But it might have been the most important one. Maya thought about the lawyer's letter that had devastated her, the accusations that had nearly broken her, and the fight that had followed. Good deeds don't always look good in the moment, she said. Sometimes they get messy. Sometimes people misunderstand, but that doesn't make them less good. No, Derek agreed. It doesn't. They left the cemetery together, stopping at Rosie's for coffee, a tradition now. The cafe was full of the lunch crowd, and Rosie waved them over. Got someone I want you to meet, Rosie said, nodding toward an elderly woman sitting alone by the window looking lost. She just moved to the neighborhood, seems lonely. Maya and Derek exchanged a look, then smiled. Come on, Maya said. Let's go introduce ourselves. Some cycles were worth repeating, some good deeds were worth the risk, and some lawyers, even when they showed up at the worst possible time, led to the best possible outcomes.